This is a video about the circulatory system, and the circulatory system comes from the word circle, which means obviously going round and around and around, and it is a system that delivers blood around the body. And we can see from this diagram here that we've got a few things to explain here. The first, front and foremost, is the way that the blood really looks. Now, blood is a combination of three different entities that we need to know about. The first is the red blood cell, and here we can see them, and they are biconcave discs, which means that they're the shape of refreshers. And the reason that they're like this is that increases the surface area for absorption of oxygen. Whenever there is absorption involved in oxygen, then it's likely that there will be an increased surface area. You see it with the alveoli in the lungs, you see it with the villi in the small intestine. And so the red blood cells are adapted to carry oxygen. A couple of other adaptations we should mention about red blood cells is that there's no nucleus in them, because the red blood cells are filled with a substance called hemoglobin. And hemoglobin is the substance which binds oxygen. It's got iron in, which is why we need iron in our diet. And there's no nucleus in a red blood cell because it means that you can pack the red blood cell full of hemoglobin and it will therefore be able to carry out more oxygen carriage. So its shape gives a larger surface area, it's got hemoglobin, and it's got no nucleus, so more hemoglobin can fit in. So these are the workhorses of the circulatory system. They pick up oxygen in the lungs, they then deliver it to the tissues, which are, and this is a key point here, respiring. The whole purpose of the circulatory system is to deliver oxygen and glucose to respiring cells, which give energy. And everything that happens in your cells, in your body, requires energy. And so it is the oxygen glucose in respiration, the breakdown of glucose using oxygen in the mitochondria in the cells, which gives the energy for life to exist. And so we need a transport system to get the oxygen and glucose to the cells. But the other side of respiration is, as well as energy being released, which is the key, there is also the waste products of carbon dioxide and water. And we don't really care about these, apart from the fact that carbon dioxide, if it is in your blood too much, will be poisonous, or in your body. And so we need to get rid of it. And so the blood takes the carbon dioxide back to the lungs, where it is exhaled. And so blood not only has the function of delivering the oxygen and glucose, but also taking away the waste products of respiration, which is carbon dioxide, to the lungs. We also breathe out, by the way, water vapour, which you can see if you breathe on a cold mirror or window. So that's our purpose. It is to deliver oxygen and glucose for respiration. And that it's always important that we remember that that is ultimately what we're doing. Respiration is not breathing. Breathing is simply a way of getting oxygen into our bodies and getting carbon dioxide out. Respiration is defined as the breakdown of glucose using oxygen to release energy, and also produces carbon dioxide and water. So more specifically about the circulatory system, well, what does it consist of? Well, we have the heart, which is the pump, which is going to give the force to the blood so it can move around the body. And not really shown here, we have two lungs either side of the heart. Just kind of drawing those on here. And those two lungs are going to supply the oxygen. So we breathe in oxygen at around 20% in the atmosphere, which is a high oxygen level, will come into our lungs. And quite brilliantly, over the alveoli, blood vessels will pass, which are carrying blood which has come from the tissues. Let's think what that means. If it's come from the tissues, from your muscle cells, from your liver, from your kidney, from your brain, it will have done respiration. And because those tissues have done respiration, they have used oxygen. And the oxygen therefore is used, carbon dioxide is released, and so there is gas exchange at the tissues and the organs of delivering the oxygen, taking the carbon dioxide. So when it comes back to the lungs, it is going to be low in oxygen and high in carbon dioxide. And that creates a really important feature, because if you have an alveoli here, the capillaries, which are the tiny blood vessels, form a network of vessels which pass over the alveoli. And remember, the blood that's come from the tissues is low in O2 because it's just delivered its oxygen, but it's high in carbon dioxide. And this is quite genius because, as I said before, the oxygen that comes into the alveoli is about 20% O2. So this is high in oxygen. But the percentage composition of carbon dioxide is only, you might be surprised at this, 0.04% in the atmosphere of CO2. So this is low. So right here in this alveoli, we have air that's been inhaled, which has a high concentration of oxygen and a low concentration of carbon dioxide. But in these blood vessels, we have a low concentration of oxygen and a high concentration of carbon dioxide. And now comes the beautiful elegance of a process you've met before, which is diffusion. Physics dictates that if you have an area of high concentration and an area of low concentration, then particles will move from an area of high concentration to low concentration down a concentration gradient. And therefore, if we were to look at this in a little more detail, if this is the alveoli and we were to draw a capillary going past it, then the beauty is that carbon dioxide moves out of the capillary where the blood is into the alveoli, down a concentration gradient, and oxygen will move into the blood, down a concentration gradient too. And so we have a wonderfully elegant gas exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide at the alveoli according to the concentration gradients. Now, that's what happens at the lungs, and it's a beautiful way of the blood picking up oxygen through diffusion and dropping of carbon dioxide. But that blood now needs to be pumped to the organs, the tissues, the muscles. And so it makes its way to the heart. And now we can actually have a little more, look at the heart in a little more detail. And we can see here that the heart consists of atriums and ventricles. Atrium, ventricle, ventricle. And with this setup, the blood will arrive from tissues, come into the right hand side of the heart. Blood O2 light fills atrium right. This will pass into the ventricle, and then the right hand side will pump the blood to the lungs, and the process I've just described will happen. Once the blood has picked up oxygen in the red blood cells, it comes back from the heart. Blood O2 blessed fills atrium left, and then it fills the left ventricle, and then it is going to shoot out of the aorta, which is the huge blood vessels at the top of the left-hand side of the heart, and the oxygenated blood is going to go to the tissues. Oxygenated means has oxygen, deoxygenated means it doesn't. A couple of things to note here. Look at the size of the muscle on the left-hand side of the heart. This side is the side that pumps blood out into the aorta, which is going to go all around your body. So this bad boy's contraction is serious action. Blood that now leaves is packing some G's. And so we need much more muscle on the left-hand side, as opposed to this thinner muscle on the right-hand side, because the blood is only being pumped to the lungs, which are a few inches away. And the last thing to say about the heart is that it's the most amazing muscle that doesn't tire, and it's responsible for pushing the blood around the body. We say there's a double circulatory system because blood comes through the heart twice in one complete circulation. In from the tissues, sent to the lungs, picks up oxygen, drops off carbon dioxide, back to the heart, and then back to the tissues. And so it goes into the heart twice. And that is a general summary of the circulation system and the heart.